Think about what we're constantly told, right? That the United States possesses the most impenetrable, highly advanced military on the planet. But rewind to the final days of 2023, and the absolute most protected airspace in the entire country got breached. And we're not talking about a quick one-off accident here. For 17 straight nights, starting in early December, an unknown fleet of craft just systematically invaded the skies right over Joint Base Langley-Eustis in Virginia. Guys, this isn't just any regular military base. It's literally the home of the F-22 Raptor, basically the most advanced air superiority fighter ever built. And whoever was flying these mystery craft, they clearly knew exactly what they were doing.
But here is the truly shocking part. The U.S. military, with all its unbelievable might and technology, was completely paralyzed. Seriously, they didn't shoot them down, they didn't intercept them. Reportedly, you had senior commanders literally climbing up onto rooftops with night vision goggles just to watch it happen. America's top-tier air defense forces had to completely ground their own F-22 squadrons night after night just to avoid mid-air collisions. They were practically sitting ducks in their own backyard.
Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the Langley breach and what looks like a massive trillion-dollar cover-up. We are going to completely deconstruct that popular alien narrative you hear so much about, and instead, we're going to follow the actual data, the real science, and maybe most importantly, the money. Let's get into it.
I mean, just look at the sheer audacity of how this timeline played out. Starting on December 6th, these craft showed up right at dusk. Now, dusk is the absolute hardest time of day for visual and infrared cameras to detect anything, which is definitely no coincidence. These things were huge, too, some estimated at 20 feet long. They were flying in these super calculated formations at over 100 miles per hour. They'd split apart, regroup, and then just completely vanish. It got so incredibly bad that local law enforcement, the FBI, the Department of Defense, they all scrambled resources to figure it out. Even NASA brought in a high-altitude research plane, the WB-57F, just trying to get some data on this. Yet every single morning, base commanders basically just had to admit they were being watched by a foreign force they couldn't legally or technologically stop.
Now, notice what happened next. In the official reports, the military completely avoided using the word drones. Instead, they slapped the label UAP on them, unidentified aerial phenomena. And honestly, it was a pretty brilliant PR pivot, because by using that specific vague term, they shifted the whole conversation. Instead of people demanding to know, hey, which foreign adversary is currently mapping out our nuclear-capable air bases, the public got distracted and started asking, wait, could this be aliens?
And when you really dig into the sources, it becomes super clear that this whole alien idea is heavily fueled by just massive extreme secrecy. Consider this for a second. 95% of military UAP sightings go totally unreported. 95. Any sensor data collected since 2021 slapped to the secret or even higher classification. Right now, there are exactly 46 specific, high-definition videos being actively hidden from the House Oversight Committee. And right around the time of this Langley breach, you had David Grush, a 14-year Air Force intelligence officer, testifying under oath that the government has a secret, decades-long crash retrieval program for non-human tech, all shielded by dark money. But if we take a step back and look at the alien evidence the public is actually allowed to see, well, a very different picture starts to emerge. Take the famous gimbal video from 2020. You know the one. It shows this dark, wingless object just hovering and steadily rotating in the sky. I mean, it completely convinced millions of people that we were looking at alien technology. But enter science writer Mick West. He broke down the actual geometry of the Navy's ATFLR camera pod that filmed it. Here's the thing. When a distant, blurry heat signature reaches the very edge of the camera's visual range, the physical pod attached to the jet actually has to mechanically rotate to keep it in frame. So that physical rotation of the camera makes the glare on the screen look like the object itself is spinning. Yep. The mind-bending alien physics was literally just an optical illusion. Our own equipment was basically tricking us.
And that brings us to an even bigger blind spot we have: electronic spoofing. Usually, when the public hears about a military radar picking up an object that jumps from 0 to Mach 20 in a split second, we immediately assume it's some otherworldly spaceship-defined physics. But in reality, it's just highly advanced electronic warfare. Adversaries are injecting false, phantom signals right into our sensor systems. So to the computer screen, it looks exactly like a hypersonic UFO. But if you were hovering in the sky right next to those exact coordinates, there'd be absolutely nothing there. It's a fake signal, engineered to confuse our systems, overload our operators, and study how our military reacts in real time. It's wild stuff.
But of course, alongside those digital ghosts, we face very real, very physical threats.
Think about traditional ballistic missiles for a second. They fly in these big, predictable arcs, right? Our defense systems are specifically built to calculate that arc and shoot them down. But then compare that to China's real-world DF-17 hypersonic glide vehicle. This thing flies anywhere from Mach 5 to Mach 10 on incredibly unpredictable, zigzagging paths right near the edge of the atmosphere, intentionally designed to completely bypass traditional American defenses. So when you combine fake sensor manipulation with actual steerable hypersonic weapons, you've got a threat that totally outpaces what we can currently handle. And honestly, the whole alien propulsion story neatly stops us from asking the much scarier question: which foreign power actually built this?
Well, somebody in Washington definitely noticed what was really going on, because in the summer of 2023, Senators Chuck Schumer and Mike Rounds pushed forward the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Disclosure Act. And let me tell you, this was not just some symbolic piece of paper. It was a legislative battering ram. The absolute strongest weapon buried in this bill was an eminent domain clause. It explicitly stated that the federal government had the legal authority to seize any recovered technologies of unknown origin that were currently being hidden away by private defense contractors.
So imagine you're a massive aerospace company holding on to off-the-books materials. This clause would have completely ruined your day. But before this bill could actually make it into the 2024 defense budget, Congressman Mike Turner and Mike Rogers basically spearheaded an effort to absolutely gut it. They ripped out the most powerful parts. That independent review board, totally gone. The rule for automatic public disclosure replaced with massive 25-year delays. And that absolutely crucial eminent domain rule that let the government seize assets, yeah, they completely eliminated it.
Now, you're probably wondering, why in the world was this bill aggressively torn apart like that? Well, during that exact same election cycle, defense industry lobbying contributions given specifically to the politicians blocking the bill topped $1.2 million. And we are talking about major donations from aerospace heavyweights, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, BAE Systems, General Dynamics, basically the exact same companies whose private off-the-books research would have suddenly been exposed to the world. Whistleblower David Grush literally called the gutting of this bill the greatest legislative failure in American history.
So what exactly is worth spending $1.2 million in lobbying to keep hidden? To find out, we just have to look at the Pentagon's own accounting books. I mean, you or I might misplace our car keys from time to time, right? But the Pentagon? As of 2023, they had completely failed their financial audit for 6 consecutive years. 6! And spoiler alert, they went ahead and failed it again in 2024.
And the sheer scale of this missing money is almost impossible to wrap your head around. By 2023, the Pentagon had racked up a staggering $1.9 trillion in completely unaccounted for assets. To put that into perspective, that is enough cash to build roughly 150 of those massive Gerald R. Ford-class aircraft carriers, which happen to be the most expensive warships ever created by humanity. Just think about that. We are talking about half of the Defense Department's entire budget, your taxpayer money, that their own internal auditors simply cannot track down.
Look, an accounting black hole of that size isn't an accident. It's a deliberate financial architecture built to dodge transparency. The whole system runs on things called Special Access Programs, or SAPs, and independent research and development funds. These sneaky little mechanisms let private contractors do incredibly classified research behind closed doors, at places like Lockheed's famous Skunk Works or the Dugway Proving Ground. The money gets funneled into a totally unauditable black budget. Funds meant for one project can just be quietly slid over to another, completely hidden from the public eye and from government auditors.
Now legally, any super classified program, no matter how top secret it is, has to be disclosed to the Congressional Gang of 8. That's the top 8 elected intelligence leaders in Congress. It's a fundamental constitutional safeguard so that at least somebody we elected knows what's going on. But according to recent witness testimony, intelligence ops and these massive private contractors had just been bypassing this rule entirely. The whole system has basically gone rogue. It's self-funding and autonomous. You literally have giant entities spending untold billions of dollars and making massive strategic defense decisions without any oversight from the people actually elected to protect the American public.
And honestly, this brings us right back to why the whole alien mystery makes for such a perfect public-facing cover story. Just think about it. If you're running a defense apparatus that has basically blown trillions of dollars on dead-end reverse engineering projects, or if your incredibly expensive electronic warfare defenses flat-out failed to stop foreign drones from buzzing a Virginia base for 17 nights, you desperately need an excuse. Because an intelligence failure on that scale is a career-ending, politically catastrophic disaster. But if you just kind of shrug and launder that failure as, oh, we're researching a cosmic mystery, suddenly you survive the news cycle. Claiming we don't know what these things are completely prevents anyone from being held accountable. But admitting Chinese drones breached our top base for a month and we were powerless, yeah, that gets people fired immediately.
Former Navy pilot Ryan Graves really hit the nail on the head here. He basically said that if everyone could just see the sensor data he's seen, UAPs would instantly become our absolute top defense priority. And not because we're being visited by ET. No, if Congress were actually allowed to watch those 46 hidden high-def tapes, it would likely be undeniable, crystal clear proof that an earthly adversary has completely unrestricted access to our most heavily guarded airspace. And our military, right now, just doesn't have the tech to stop them.
So, what does this all mean for us? The biggest takeaway from this explainer is this: the real war isn't coming from another galaxy. The very first battle of the next era of modern warfare, it already happened. It was fought in the skies over Virginia in December 2023. It was fought using legal loopholes, crazy electronic spoofing, and advanced drones, all while the most powerful defense apparatus on Earth just watched, totally paralyzed, bleeding trillions of unaccounted dollars. They fought the first battle without firing a single shot. And guys, the US clearly didn't win. So, if this is happening right out in the open at America's top F-22 base, where else are they already watching?